I went to work for the NOAA Chesapeake Bay office for about 5 years. I moved back home to Rhode Island, and I worked for Applied Science Associates for about another 5 years, leading their software group. And about 3 years ago, I moved jobs to Axiom Data Science here in Rhode Island still. Axiom Data Science is based in Anchorage, Alaska. It's our main office, but we have satellite offices in Oregon and Rhode Island as well. And we're mostly an informatics and software engineering firm. We manage any chemical, environmental, biological, physical characteristics of the Earth and any data that comes along with those. I've been involved with IUs since the Ocean.US days, my involvement with the Chesapeake Bay. And Axiom Data Science also manages 2 other regional associations, DMAC. We have managed the AU's DMAC contract since 2010 and the SECOORA's DMAC contract since 2013. And Vembu is obviously the DMAC coordinator. He's my point of contact. We're constantly in communication over this past year, daily, on any issues or tasking and things like that. So kind of an overview of the transition period we've gone through, which is almost been a calendar year. We started off last June with a complete analysis of the current DMAC system. A big thank you to Jeremy and Dan and the rest of the old DMAC team for providing some great documentation. It was fairly smooth analysis procedure to figure out kind of the nuts and bolts of the SECOORA DMAC system, the data that encompassed it, and we were able to move forward pretty quickly from there. The main goals, kind of in the statement of work, were to transition the entire data collection with no lost data. So we don't want any broken links, and we don't want any missing data sets. If someone's used to getting a data set from SECOORA, we want to make sure that that data set is always still going to be available in the new system. I want to transition to the new IU services there, but we just mean new infrastructure for those services and add data sets to those services as needed. We wanted to maintain all the existing third-party applications and products that SECOORA has developed over the years, such as the Marine Weather Portal and the Model Skill Assessment and the climatology products that Second Creek Consulting did. We want to maintain access to those in a seamless manner, so someone visiting SECOORA has a one-stop shop experience, and all the products don't appear different or scattered about. We had to switch over the archival procedures with the Federal Archiving Center and CEI. We undertook a website project for the new SECOORA website, which will be unveiled at the annual meeting/PI meeting in 2 weeks. And the screenshot here is just kind of our tasking system, how Vembu and I stay on top of each other. It's Trello-based. You can see it's always a work in progress. We always have things to work on. We're always adding new things to work on. Just want to give you an idea of kind of how we organize what we're working on next. So I spelled SECOORA wrong there. So the first portion of the analysis was kind of identifying all the data sets that make up SECOORA. And after the analysis, we came up with these 5 main categories that pretty much all data fit into. The first 4 are fairly obvious: moving platforms, grids, meaning post-processed radials as well as satellite products and forecast models, and GIS. Those are location-based data that regional associations are used to dealing with. It makes up kind of the IU's backbone. And then the 5th category of products, which was unique to SECOORA. And it was an interesting challenge, and it was presented some loopholes that we weren't really prepared for at first, but I think we overcame them. So just want to give it 5 things that we worked on. All the images here on this page are clickable, so if you guys are curious and are looking at the presentation, you can click on them and go to the page on the SECOORA portal that I actually took the screenshot from. So our approach to DMAC. So we have the categories, and how do we make sense of this? Our typical approach to DMAC is, here it looks like a food pyramid, but you could also picture it as an iceberg, where the blue tip is pretty much your forward-facing web services and portals. And everything below that is kind of the meat and bones of the DMAC, but it's not what everyone sees. but it's where everything happens. So data comes in through the bottom. We ingest data in any format you could possibly think of. We massage it. We add metadata to it. We have a full-time data librarian on staff at Axiom who works hard in tracking down white papers and references and summaries and abstracts and generating metadata documents for all the data that we ingest. And then it goes through kind of an ontological metadata process where allows us to relate different data sets that may seem disparate and unrelatable to each other. So might require translation of some data sets, or it might just be connecting water temperature with water temperature if they're named differently in different data sets. So this kind of spans all types of data, biological, hydrodynamic data, satellite data, anything. So all through that, ingesting the 5 types of data, analyzing the products that SECOORA already have, we came up with the SECOORADataPortal, which we released at the PI meeting, kind of a sneak peek. You can visit it now. The site is live. It's functioning. You can consider it just kind of production waiting for the meeting at this point. This is a landing page you see when you go. It's kind of designed to give the user different ways and the abilities to explore right from the main page. Instead of dropping them on a map that shows dots and grids and colors, we present them to a page where they have a choice of clicking on a targeted link, such as manatee research or forecast and models, jumping right to the portal by clicking the interactive map button. They can type in a search. It's kind of up to them how they want to go about exploring the data. The first part is the catalog. So every data set that SECOORA ingests now has a metadata record associated with it. These are all indexed, both spatially, temporally, keywords, and a free text search as well. So you can browse the list and just take a look at the summaries and find something that interests you. You can search, free text search if you know what you're looking for, or you can filter spatially, temporally, or by access method, so OpenDAP or some other OGC services are available under that filter. The keywords below, you can see a little box there if you're visiting the portal catalog page. There's no vocabulary set with them. It's kind of a coming in the future. We'll either have a SECOORA vocabulary or derive a vocabulary from another group that's already spent lots of time thinking about vocabularies and tag all the data sets using that vocabulary. Right now, it's just kind of a sample vocabulary there. I didn't tag everything 100% because it's a lot of work to go through and tag things if we're just going to undo it later. So the data set page, every data set now, or module, however you want to think about it in SECOORA, now has its own landing page. So you can permanent link, the link won't change ever. You can link colleagues, you can link friends, family, whoever you want to show off your work to, you can always link them to this page and it will always be there. Provides basically a visual representation of the metadata record that we have, summary, the availability of the data, any license or usage information that you have in there. There's also ways to quickly preview the data. So in this case, I took a screenshot of the West Florida Shelf HF radar, and I think I took this on Friday. You can click around the different layers. You can also download PNG images of what you're looking at, or CSV files in the case of the station, or a sensor feed. Build contact information, and usually linking back to the original source of the metadata. Now this obviously requires a full metadata record to be present, and the page is only going to be as good as the metadata record we have. So we're constantly working to improve those records so that each page is complete. I picked one that wasn't 100% complete to kind of highlight the fact that we have some work to do on tracking down kind of source links and white papers that this data has been published in and things like that. So the last kind of the 4 main, and I'm going to go into a demo, so don't think that these 4 pages are tough to get to. I'll show you in a little bit. The portal page kind of provides, kind of links all the other pages together. So any data set that you encounter in SECOORA, you can add to a portal, or concept of a single view with a single time dimension. So you could add, right now you're looking at, stab gums, potential temperature from today, about 11 a.m., and as well as all of the water temperature stations in the region overlaid on top of each other. And you can add whichever layers you would like there. You could switch to a chlorophyll station and view the chlorophyll layer, anything like that. I'll do a quick demo of the portal. You can follow along, or you can just watch. So this is the landing page. I'm going to first show a sensor layer, a search for sensors, and just going to click the real-time sensor layer. So this is the dataset page as I was speaking of. Everyone has a dataset page. You can see the hex bins here is kind of how we represent sensors at a far out zoom level. It doesn't really make sense to throw dots all over the map, and when you're hovering, you're not really sure what you're hovering over. So the way to give kind of a statistical summary of the geographic area that's underneath the hex. Hovering over one will give you the number of stations in each hex and kind of the min-max value of the parameter that you're looking at. So here you can see there's 14 stations in this hex, 5 of which are reporting. We're looking at wind speed and direction right now. And below here on the bar underneath, it gives you a time series, min, mean, max, and a standard deviation of the values. If you click on one of them, you can see the representation that hex had into the overall statistical summary. Now we can select different sensors, so we can do air temperature, and it will rescale dynamically. As you zoom in, the hexes also rescale until you get to a point where it makes sense to show the individual stations, so you can actually make sense and hover around and know what you're clicking on. So this is the real-time sensor layer. You can get real-time data from any of the stations. We offer, I'll actually pick this is a USF buoy, this is C10, get air temperature, wind speed and direction, shows the wind rose as well. For all of our sensor parameters, we also host the data in RDAP. So if you would like to access your data or send your data access to someone else, this is a great way to do it. Just open a new tab for now. We'll look at it in a minute. You can also download the data straight away as a CSV file. It gives you what's represented in this time series graph. The source will bring you back to the source page URL for this buoy. Right now it goes to the comps page for C10. And the parameter info button gives you kind of an overview. Right now we're looking at actually 3 different variables in the wind rose. It just gives a little more clarity about what you're looking at. You can download the individual variables, wind speed, wind gust, wind direction. If it had any other information associated with it, if it was at a depth, or it was an ADCP, or if it was a water level station that was referenced to a vertical datum, that information is available here. So here's the AirDAT page that I clicked on earlier. So this will give you the data from this buoy in whatever format you want. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with AirDAT, but it's a great forward-facing service to give to data scientists or pretty much anyone who's interested in accessing the data on their own terms, in their own formats. You can use MATLAB, you can use Python, you could just use their built-in graphing tools. So I'll cancel that search, and I'll set the SABGOM, and this is a search result page, and I'll just click to get the datasets page. This is the SABGOM model. This has a little more information. Usage notes are available in the raw dataset files and on threads, so we're able to pull those in. The metadata URL obviously links back to the thread server where the data is available, as well as the web page. You get a preview of a data layer, whatever data layer you're looking at. I'm going to add this layer to the portal, which I'll add temperature, or I'll add chlorophyll actually. Click the plus button. added to the portal in the background. You can see on the top here my layers increased by 1. I'll actually go back to the sensor layer and add that to the portal as well. So I have 2 in the portal. This is that portal landing page that I talked about. Once you add 2 layers in here, it becomes useful to how I compare data. I'm looking at a chlorophyll concentration level. All the lists on the right are the different data you have available in the portal. There are layer options, so you can change the style you're looking at, the color bars. You can also auto-scale it for what you're looking at. Kind of builds up the whole spectrum of colors. You can select depths and such. And I'll select the chlorophyll layer for the sensors. See, there's 4 here. If you zoom in close, you can see which stations are measuring chlorophyll, and you have your chlorophyll layer here. Hovering over anywhere on the actual model will give you an instantaneous value at that point, 2.19 micrograms per liter. If you click, actually get a time series at that point, similar to how the stations work. So this is, querying a model, kind of a virtual sensor concept, where you place the buoy at that grid cell in the model and extract this time series. You can download the data the same way as you can the sensor data. I'll also look at chlorophyll. You can see this specific one measures at the surface and the bottom, so you can switch and see a time series graph. All the time series graphs on the portal you can also enlarge to get a better look. So that's kind of the overview of the portal. Go back to the presentation. So kind of the accomplishments, how we came about from the analysis to the implementation of the portal was first we did a complete HF radar overhaul, meaning we, instead of Jeremy and Dan had set up processes and scripts to generate netcdf files from the ASCII. We went ahead and wrote 2 kind of open source toolkits for converting both CodeR and WIRA total ASCII files into netcdf. And we published those and released those, and we're now using that toolkit to convert the ASCII totals to netcdf. The platform data collection went well. The real-time stuff, I think we're at 100%. So anything available on the old portal, such as real-time funded data, is available on the new portal. The archive is still processing and ongoing, but it should be done before the PI meeting in a few weeks. Gridded models, the models are ongoing. We had a few that we had to redo because I got one of the vector conversions wrong for ROMs. I rotated it the wrong direction, but that's another point. The models are ongoing still. We pull in models. All models that were available on the old portal are available on the new portal, just not with the same temporal span. We're still getting some archives and getting some checks and balances done to make sure they're 100% correct before we kind of release those. Satellites next on the list. There are a few satellite data sets we've identified we want to pull in. We haven't done it yet. We like to highlight the PI data at every opportunity, so actually didn't show that very well on the portal, but I will real quick. So on the sensor layer, you can also filter by source. So I will show all sensors and zoom back out. And you can change the source to anything. So we'll do UNCW. Let's hide this so it's a little easier to see. Zoom in, you can see the UNCW buoys. And anyone, Recon in Florida, and Florida Atlantic University. So you can quickly kind of see either your own data or someone else's data, or maybe take some of the busyness away from the map sometimes if you're just looking for something in particular. So we like to highlight the PI data as well as on the metadata page. We can improve some of the linkages and references back to the PIs. And we did a static asset pipeline. We worked with Vembu. So Vembu can edit a spreadsheet for static assets such as buoy locations, buoy status, planned, under construction, deployed. It also works for HF radar stations, so we can flag a station as permitting or under construction, and it will show up on the map dynamically immediately once he edits the spreadsheet. And this way we're kind of keeping the asset inventory up to date all the time with the spreadsheet as well as the website. Everything's kind of on the same page. We participated in 3 grant submission processes with SECOORA, and we're in the process of transitioning the SECOORA website from Drupal to WordPress. Hopefully that's unveiled at the PI meeting in a few weeks. I want to thank all the HF Radar PIs who responded to my email or forwarded it on to the appropriate person for getting the static HF Radar grids. That was super helpful. And maybe still some work to do. In the next slide, we want to work on some submission guidelines for new data providers as well as existing data providers. We need to do kind of a retrospective analysis on what worked, what didn't quite work, what's a good balance between SECOORA and some of the PIs. We want to make your lives as easy as possible. And we could be doing things right now that make both of our lives hard, but we could come up with a simple solution. Thoughts coming down the pipeline. We're going to develop some third-party application development standards. So that 5th category of applications and products that SECOORA funds through third parties, it really is difficult to get those integrated into a DMAC system kind of securely and seamlessly, so they all look the same. So coming up with just some basic application development standards to be able to put in an RFP saying these things are required will really help SECOORA in the long run to kind of enhance their web presence to be one single application, one single view for everything. We're going to be a ocean tracking network node for the FACT group coming in about a week now. We had the OTN folks down here in Rhode Island about a month ago, and we worked for a few days on getting that together and getting their data all formatted correctly. SECOORA website launch is coming. Talked a little about that already. Big one, individual stations in the catalog. Right now, stations aren't searchable, so if you searched UNCW, you wouldn't get any of their shore stations or their buoys in the catalog search results. That will be coming down the road, probably in the summer. July is the time frame right now, but there's no exact date on it. And that'll help improve kind of the transparency of the data, so you'll be able to send a page similar to the NDBC page for each buoy. We'll have something similar that kind of highlights that just one asset rather than having to find it on a map. We're constantly improving the visualization features. We have a new time series analysis tool coming out now where the time series graphs I showed were nice, but sometimes on large time series it's difficult to see and interpret what you're seeing. So we've implemented some binning, months, weeks, seasons, years for climatology products and things like that. That also show the kind of mean max standard deviation of the data. So you kind of can make a judgment about the data just by a quick time series graph view. And if you wanted to actually see all the data points over 20 years, you could. But that wouldn't be the default view. The default view would bin them kind of more appropriately. New data layers are continually being added as they either come online as new products or we identify them as something SECOORA is interested in. We also want to hear from you guys. Please send your feedback, suggestions, how you use the website, or how you want to use the website. Bamboo and I are always available. You can email me. There's also a feedback button right on the website that emails me and the group here at Axiom directly. So you can click this at any time and type any feedback you want. This data set's not working, or this buoy I used to use isn't here anymore, or anything like that. Chances are you're probably not the only person with the same problem, so we can't fix things that we don't know are broken. If you have any other data sets you know, please let us know. If we're missing anything, please let us know. And that's about it. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Kyle, and I appreciate it. And I just wanted to add a couple of things to Kyle's presentation and then open the floor for questions and comments and suggestions. So this is like kind of set up in terms of all the activities and all the features and everything whatnot that was available in the world website have been kind of transitioned. So I think it requires a little bit of part of playing with it and trying to kind of, make use of it. As Kyle mentioned, I think we are here and staff have been engaged also very actively to provide some feedback on the existing ones in terms of what you saw. So between now and the launch of the whole data portal in the annual meeting, some of these in the works will be kind of, might have been already done. Just to mention about Ocean Tracking Network and FACT, if some of you who are not aware, FACT stands for Florida Atlantic Coast Telemetry Group. They are a group of scientists who are members of SECOORA, and they are actively engaged in placing receivers and tagging animals. They also have physical data, and they approach SECOORA to work with in terms of establishing something to share their physical data as well as get data from SECOORA in terms of models and in situ data. So these are passive acoustics. So we are working with them in terms of establishing the node. So the group will interactively post some of these things and use some of those stuff. So that I wanted to mention that. And also, Kyle did not mention, and SECOORA is actively preparing the data certification application for USIUs, and data certification is a part of it. And Axiom has helped, and we have almost finalized with regards to the data management portion of it in terms of application. And thank you to all the data providers and getting information and gathering that. And we will be sharing that with you all with regards to the application and stuff at the annual meeting also with that. So most of the things, there is going to be some bugs and errors and things like that. But we would like for you to just kind of take it home and pass it on to all the people who you think that, could comment and contribute and provide feedback would be helpful. So it directly goes into Kyle Wilcox box, and we will be able to do that. The other thing in terms of the certification process is gathering the whole maintenance logs of each of the stations and things like that as to in-situ platforms and whatnot that mandate. So we have started working with UNCW and USF and some other, people to deploy templates and also their service history, capturing that. So we have also worked on that with regards to that side of it. That will also be linked with regards to, when they are turning around their buoys and these kind of things, and their calibration records and things like that we are mandated to kind of give it to. So all these things, have been kind of, worked on, and here we are. And I think the 20th, 19th, we will be launching this officially, and also we will be placing some kind of note on the existing website and kind of working on that between now and the website. At this, I will stop, and I will open up for questions, comments, and everything, and go ahead.
Well, this is Harvey. I'll just say it. At first blush, it sure looks like a really nice product that you've put together. I think clearly it's going to take time to dive in and play with it, as Pembu mentioned, to really understand the capabilities you've implemented, what ideas we might have for improving it, or things that we find are not reflected as we understand them to be. But as I said, at first blush, this looks like a real significant accomplishment. So that's about all the feedback I can provide at this point.
Thank you so much, Harvey. I appreciate that. Anyone else have any questions, comments on what experience, if you have played with it, and